Greetings, friends and fellow cigar box guitar enthusiasts. Del Puckett here, and I would like to welcome you to the Ultra Beginner's Cigar Box Guitar Lesson. If you're an advanced player or an intermediate player, you're probably going to get bored with this video because it's designed and geared toward the Ultra Beginner. So, to start off with, we're going to talk about the anatomy of the three-string cigar box guitar. All right, so these things here are built in the spirit and tradition of the original instruments that emerged around the middle of the 1800s. They're called poor man's guitars because the people who built them didn't have the means necessarily to go and buy one, so they would be inventive and creative, and they would build these instruments out of anything that they could beg, borrow, buy, steal, create, invent, whatever the case is. And so these instruments here are built with that in mind. That being said, for example, here we have a hinge here for the string catch. Of course, this is just a regular cigar box. I do have some springs on the inside here to give it some reverb. Here there's a screw here to do the tie down, strings to have the strings be pushed down. So even though we do have modern technology with frets and electronics and whatnot, it's still built in the spirit and tradition of the original instruments. All right, so some of the anatomy. This is called the headstock. And a lot of the headstocks are just carved down here so that it's narrow enough so these tuners can go through here. And you can put any kind of tuners on here. These tuners were given to me. They're called Godot tuners. They're nice tuners and stuff like that. But you can get tuners anywhere. You can cannibalize them off of a broken guitar. You can buy a guitar at a pawn shop. You can go online and you can actually buy these things anywhere. Fret wire, I get my fret wire from cbgiddy.com. That's where I got this shirt. The wood here, this wood here, as long as you can get a nice straight piece of wood with vertical grains that's wide enough right here, you can make a guitar neck out of it. Now what I do is I like to glue an extra piece here, and this is what they call the heel, because this piece goes all the way through so that I can screw in this part here for strength. Right, so when I put the strings on, it doesn't collapse the box, right? But this is all just one piece all the way through. There are many different styles of pickups. This one here has got what they call a piezo, which is a vibration detector underneath the saddle here. But you can put any kind of pickups in here that you want. You could put fancy humbuckers or single coils or combinations or mic pickups, or even have no pickups and just be acoustic. So these things are really, I mean, they're meant to be tinkered with and hot rodded and ultimately destroyed. All right, so that's just the basics of the history and some of the anatomy. I want to get into some of the rules here. First off, the first rule is there are no rules. What do you mean there are no rules? Well, that's what they told me. There was no rules. And so I'm just repeating what I heard. There are no rules. And the second rule is see rule number 1. There are no rules. Just kidding. There's various ways that you can hold it here. Obviously, if you have some string or some leather, you can tie it around here, and then you could put like a little hook or one of these little eyelets like here, and then tie it off here as well. Put a strap on. You could put a strap button on here. You could even not even have a strap. This one here does not have a strap button or anything like that. So I'm going to hold this thing. Now there's a couple of ways to hold it. Actually, I can hold it with this hand here and strum it here. And another little strategy is to kind of put it under your arm here, like grab it like this, like a under your chicken wing here, and hold it like here. So I've got 3 points of contact. I got here 1, here 2, and here 3. Right. So I'm squeezing it and holding it. So that's an easy way to hold it. Or you can sit down. Obviously, if you sit down, I don't need to explain that, right? You can just sit down and put it on your knee or whatever like that. So I don't understand people who put the input jacks here on the bottom, because that's where your knee is going to go if you're going to be doing that, right? So I always opt to put my input jacks here on the back. That way I can sit down and it's not going to interfere. All right, so you have your right hand, which is going to hold a pick. A lot of times, let's see if I even have a pick. I have a pick, yay! And it happens to be red. So there's many ways to hold your pick. I hold it in between my thumb and my index finger, and I point it toward the instrument like that, right? And then, I mean, obviously you're not going to hold it between these two fingers unless you're special or whatever like that, but in between your thumb, sometimes you can put it in between your thumb and your middle finger if you want to keep your index finger for harmonics. But typically it's going to be in between your thumb and your index finger. And you're going to hang on to these things here because you're going to get after it. So like a lot of times these picks fly out. Real important here is your left hand. So what you want to do is you want to keep in mind a few things. Number one, ergonomics. What's ergonomics? Well, in a nutshell, ergonomics is having neutral positions, relaxed and neutral positions with all of your hands. In other words, so if I'm going to be doing my pick, I'm not going to be doing this or doing this with my wrist or nothing like that, but I'm going to have straight lines from my wrist through my forearm on both my right hand and my left hand. So when I'm holding the neck over here and I'm doing my frets, I'm not doing this and I'm not doing this, right? But my wrist and my forearm are pretty much straight. So this is the position for the left hand as you're going up and down. That being said, you're going to be curving your fingers. And what I mean by that is, see, I have basically, all of my fingers are curved. They're not straight and they're not like inverted. Sometimes you'll have to invert, like if you have to do like a bar chord or something like that. But for the most part, you're going to be using the tips of your fingers on the string, pushing the string down to the fretboard, and then launching it right behind that fret. So that's the fingertips on the fretboard, right behind the fret, not in the middle of the fret, and not in the back side, but right next to the fret, not on top of the fret, but just right behind the fret. And you're going to end, like if you got two fingers, then that would be the next one. You're not going to do this in the middle like that, but you're going to put your finger right next to the fret. Now this is kind of an advanced idea, but these are the basics here. And I'm going to include this in the beginners because, dude, you got to learn the right way at the beginning. That way you're not having to unlearn bad habits. So always put your fingers right behind the fret. If I slide up here, I'm going to be right behind the fret. Again, not on top of it and not behind it this way, but just barely on the back side of that fret. You want to create like a little mini angle, just like this little angle right here. By putting your finger right next to on a microscopic level, you're creating a little angle right on the back side of this fret, and that's what you want. Back here, there's not going to be an angle, right? But the closer you get up here, the more of an angle, just like this angle here, you're going to get right behind the fret. So that's important stuff. Part of the basics, part of the beginner lesson, stuff like that. So ergo positions, both right hand and left hand, right? If you feel any pain or any discomfort, or if it's difficult at all, just kind of reevaluate your body positions and stuff like that. Make sure that you're maintaining ergonomic, neutral body positions. And this way you can play for a long time without fatiguing or getting tired. Okay, so let's talk about strings. People ask me all the time, what kind of strings are those and what is the tuning? The answer is you can put any strings on that you like and you can tune it however you like. That's kind of the beauty and the versatility of the instrument. It's totally up to you on how you want it to sound, how you want it to play, how you want it to feel, etc. Okay, so this one here, I call these strings here the heavy strings, and they're not really heavy. This is an A string, this is a D string, and this is a G string. These are all wound. Okay, but I tune down. As most of you know, I tune down to E, B, E. And I have many reasons. Obviously, the strings are looser, so it's easier to play, easier to bend, less difficult to push down. It sounds lower, and because these don't have a truss rod, it actually lengthens the life of the instrument. Right? By not having to tune it up, you have this stress that I think is unnecessary stress. But that being said, there's a lot of people who use G, D, G tuning, and that's fine. It's like I said, it's totally up to you. What I suggest is if you're a singer or you're playing in a band or whatever like that, you're going to tune to whatever key that you're singing in or whatever key that the band wants you to be in or whatever the case is, right? So it's entirely up to you. Like I said, there are no rules. Okay, so the next thing, though, that we do is we need to identify what we want to play, how we want to play, etc. So a lot of times the instrument itself will dictate how it wants to be played. In other words, if the action is really high, and what I mean by the action is the string distance from the fretboard. A lot of times the neck will be bowed, or the saddle will be too high, and so these strings will be really high. Well, if that's the case, then you'll want to play with a slide. And when you play with a slide, you're just if you have frets, a lot of times the slide will bang. So that'll be something that you'll need to avoid, if at all possible. A lot of times, if it has no frets on it, then that's a no-brainer. That's a slider guitar, and so therefore you will have to play with a slide. I mean, you can play with your fingers, but it's not going to sound as good, in my opinion, as it would if you had frets. So anyhow, so the instrument will tell you how it wants to be played. If the action is really low, obviously you're going to be using your fingers and stuff like that if it's a fretted instrument. So maybe you want to dive deep into the theory of music theory and exploit the simplistic 3-string subsystem. By all means, you know what I'm saying, by virtue of the fact that this is a 1-key instrument, whatever key you tune it to, right? Kind of like a harmonica is a 1-key instrument. You can think of the 3-string cigar box guitar as a 1-key instrument. Whatever key you tune it to, that'll be the key that you're in. You can learn chords, all sorts of chords. The nice thing about the 3-string system tuned in a 1-5-1 tuning is you can just do 1-finger bars. And this is really, this one here is like totally one of the main reasons that a lot of people like the 3-string cigar box guitar, because you can just go. One finger. So this is what they call a bar, when I'm taking 1 finger and I'm covering all the strings here. This is called 1-finger bar chord. You can actually just do 2 fingers or 1 finger. So 2 fingers, or 2 strings, or 3 strings. This way you get the and so seriously, I mean, 1 finger and you're jamming. Hello, come on. That's another thing that makes this instrument really popular. And what's the word? Never mind, lost the word. But dang it, what's the word? I forget. Not popular, but desirable. That's another reason why this instrument is desirable, is because it's so easy, because you don't have so many strings to worry about. All you got is 3 strings, so that you can really focus on just 3 strings, and with minimal effort, right, you can make nice sounding chords. Now, if you want to learn more about chords and music theory, I will post some video links here at the end of this video. You can check those out. Lots of information, lots of good information, and I think you will rather enjoy those. But one thing I have to stress is that you have to learn to count. Not very high, you just have to learn to count to 4, right? If you can learn to count to 4 and then start all over again, dude, you got this thing licked. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you put an and in between those numbers. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and it helps if you move your body. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. This is your strumming hand. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I'm just here at the 5th fret and the 7th fret. These are the main chords to the open chord. They call that a 1-4-5 progression. So, like I said, if you're a singer-songwriter, you're going to tune it up to whatever key that you like to sing in, right? And then you just sing along. Sing along to whatever key you're in and have a lot of fun, yeah, yeah. So they call that a 1-4-5 progression. Here's another cool progression. It's called 1. Then we're going to come up with our finger bar up here to the 7th fret. Then we're going to move up here to the 9th fret, and then down to the 5th fret. This is a real popular, a real common progression. This is called a progression. This is the way it sounds. Again, that's open. 7, 9, 5. And I'm just going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I can go slower or fast. That is like a song that you've heard countless. I mean, I'm not even going to go into the details of that because there's so many songs that you can do with just that little chord progression right there. Having just 3 strings really opens the door to a lot of tricks that you can do that you wouldn't otherwise be able to do, because like I said, there's less strings to have to worry about. But the important thing is obviously you got to be in tune. So I would recommend getting yourself a tuner, learning how to tune so that at least you're in tune up here to begin with, and then everything's going to sound good after that. So I know I went long. I know it's kind of a rant. I can play some songs here at the very end and stuff like that, but I just wanted to kind of give you just kind of a brief overview. This is a cigar box guitar from 30,000 feet. The bottom line is you got to have fun, right? I mean, and then realize, hey, you know what, dude, we're all beginners. I divide beginners into 3 categories. The first guy, he's just beginning. The second guy, he's beginning to get better, right? And then the third category is when you realize, hey, dude, we're all beginners. We're all in this thing. We're all learning. We're all at some level. We're all growing. We're all expanding on some level or another. You know what I'm saying? But the bottom line is that you do have to start. All right. So my encouragement to you is to get started. And then I will just leave you with a little jam and a little encouragement. People ask me all the time, why only 3 strings? And well, I always tell them, well, because 6 strings or 3 strings too many. All right, I'm going to leave you with a little blues, and the blues I'm just rocking it back and forth on the middle string. Here we are at the 5th fret. All right, you guys, hope you enjoyed the lesson. Be sure to check out the videos here and the videos here if you want to go in depth, because man, I tell you what, if you want to, you can go really deep into this thing really fast. But it's a lot of fun, loads of fun. And so I encourage you, man, I totally encourage you, man, to get yourself one of these things by hook or crook, and change your life, man. I guarantee you, change your life. Talk to you later.